Hi, I'm Megan Baker, and this is InfluenceHER. Sabrina Mosseau is an oncology nurse and the executive director of New York Oncology Hematology, the region's largest provider of cancer and blood disorder care. She has more than 20 years of healthcare experience. Sabrina also joins me on the board of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, upstate New York, Vermont. Thank you so much for joining us, Sabrina. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for inviting me, Megan. I appreciate it.
You are the first female executive director in the New York Oncology Hematology's 35-year history. What does that mean?
It's meaningful in so many ways, right? So it's meaningful in the trajectory of women entering healthcare in a different world. I entered as an oncology nurse. And to be able to lead that largest organization in the Capital District, I really see it as an honor to really showcase that nursing is limitless. They can do anything that they want to do. And it really helps mentor and grow other nurses who might be reticent about entering the field, that you can take a number of different paths.
That's quite an accomplishment. In your field of work, you often see patients struggling through the most difficult times in their lives. What is the best advice you've heard for getting through some of the most challenging and darkest days?
I've had the pleasure of being that nurse caring for someone, right? So getting to know human beings and their families. And I would start with that what I may feel might be my darkest days or my inability to deal with something really is different. So the first thing is to listen very carefully to that person, respond very thoughtfully to them, and really get to the bottom of what is meaningful for them. So, for example, often in oncology, we'll talk about the toolbox that we have, that it's another drug, or it's another way to treat it, or it's radiation, or it's this. And we forget that regardless of how we keep on refilling that toolbox with other therapies or treatments or care, we forget that there's hope that lines that box. Mm-hmm. And what that means is so significant to each individual person that is really the role of oncology to find out, like, what does hope mean to you? When does it feel like it's a darkest day for you? And then how do we actually cushion you or surround you to be able to move yourself through that? And then how do we leverage the power of what we have to offer to make sure that you are still well, even living with, through, or beyond a disease?
It takes a very special person to be in healthcare, but more so to be a nurse. How did you get involved?
I thought I was going to be a maternity nurse. I'm the oldest of 5, kind of grew up with the you have to take care of children type of thing. I realized I didn't specifically like children or their mothers during the maternity rotation. I'm not proud, apparently, of that, but I'll say it out loud. And cancer care spoke to me because I came from a research background to begin with. And the absolute strides that we've made over the 25 plus years I've been in, we're saving lives that we did not 3 years and 5 years and 10 years. So though the care and the relationship is sacred, the science is enthralling and it keeps me involved. Even though I'm in more of an executive leadership position, the science and the care is still going to drive oncology care for decades to come.
You have been an instrumental advocate with LLS and the local chapter, also with many other philanthropic efforts. What message do you have to other leaders about the importance of giving back to the community?
I would say first find your passion, right? And I think that mine was natural. Oncology came naturally. It fired all the neurons. It made me feel like I was doing meaningful work. And the part 2 about that is make sure it's structured. Too many of us are asked to sit on boards or to chair events or to be part of events. And there's a difference between feeling like you're actually part of the structure of that event and you're truly giving back, or that you're doing it for what reason? To have it on a resume or to have it on an invitation. I think that is one of the more meaningful ways people can connect with their community, is what makes you feel that you have value, and understanding that your value, though it's often called upon your treasury, is actually your time, right? Your time's meaningful. And every single time that somebody gives back to themselves and their community, we're in a great place. We just become stronger with every single volunteer, regardless of what they decide to volunteer their time for.
Aside from being an advocate in the community, you're also an advocate for integrated wellness. Will you tell us a little bit about Karen Mosseau Fund and what that is?
It's my honor to do so. I was blessed enough in my life to have a sister-in-law, Karen Mosseau, incredible woman, like evenly matched in the way that we thought about life and how we cared about our families and cared about our communities. And unfortunately, she passed very quickly from a very aggressive form of breast cancer. And she was young. She was only 38. She had 2 little boys, right, our nephews. And it was so shocking to be on that journey with her and to suspend the true love and true friendship that I had with her to go into the clinical role, right? To, yes, do this, no, don't do that. And she actually was able to take advantage of a number of integrative wellness therapies. And I know in my heart that those therapies had her live better with her disease. And I would dare say longer, but definitely better. But they come at a cost, right? They come at a cost. Yoga therapy and massage therapy and healing touch, even social work or psychosocial support doesn't come free. And it was really, she challenged us. Said, if you're going to do something and you're going to affect your community, this is the thing that you need to do. And with family and with friends, we were able to do that. We were able to take her wishes and make them a reality. And that's really, when you had said earlier about hope in darkest days, she knew those were her darkest days, and her hope was that what her mission was, that we were actually going to deliver on it. And I'm proud to say we did.
How can someone learn more about the fund?
They can absolutely reach out to me, to Sabrina Mosseau. I think that is the first step. We're oddly in this post-pandemic phase, still committed to the mission, but looking at how do we revitalize it, right? How do we take that entire focus that has been on many people's minds, I think just survival, whether that's financial survival, social survival, can I survive this, to change that back into, it's time to look back outward to our community and those we serve.
You have been extremely open, Sabrina, about your childhood. Not pleasant whatsoever, an abusive childhood. Can you share with us some of your experience growing up and what others can do that might have experienced something similar?
I would first address that for many people, and obviously I can only speak for myself or other survivors that I know, is overcoming this shame, right? Because it doesn't matter whether you are a child or an adult living in those situations, the abuser almost always shames you. And whether you're a 2-year-old child, a 15-year-old, teenager, a 42-year-old woman, a 58-year-old man, those abusers have such a great way to get inside your head, right? And to really make it about you. So maybe if you're quieter, maybe if you don't do, everything that a normal human being would do, maybe if you become hypersensitive to their moods. And so many of us learn to do that. We become hypersensitive to the emotions in other people. We become perhaps withdrawn if we sense anger in a room, which as adults, those feelings are hard to navigate, right? So disagreement in a room doesn't mean somebody's going to start punching you in the face. Right. Just means there's disagreement in the room. Individuals moving into your personal space doesn't mean they're being aggressive to you. It's just, but a lot of us take that as putting up those barriers or those shields.
Or PTSD, yeah.
Absolutely. You can't get past, and that nagging voice that some of us carry all the time, right? You can't do this. You're not worth it. You'll never be better than anyone else, right? You're never going to become anything. And I don't know, one of two things. Does it push you to say, yes, I can and I will in spite of? Or do people take that to heart and say, well, that's who I am. So of course I can't accomplish or do anything or even be who I truly am supposed to be because of that influence in our lives.
It must take constant healing on your part.
It does. It takes a lot of, I would say, self-awareness, right? Like, wait a second, pause. Why am I acting this way in this situation? Why do I feel threatened in this situation? And for me, it's really turned into joking on some things, like food scarcity. So food was withheld from me all the time. And it was always a punishment. And now I'm always like, when are we going to get fed again? When are we going to eat? And people are like, okay, we just had breakfast. Like, lunch is coming, right? Food hoarding in the pandemic happened for me, and I was like, why do I have 97 cans of beets? That doesn't make any sense. Like, no one's going to eat that many beets. If you want some, I bring them to you. But it was a pause moment in saying, oh, I'm pulling all of my childhood fears or anxieties forward into my adult life. And I think we all do.
And being aware of, those actions, or awareness is key. It's really important.
And not beating myself up for it either. Really saying, okay, this is the why behind it. You made a choice. Okay, now you can make another choice to acknowledge it and then to work through it or beyond it.
So we have a previous question, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. But the previous question from the guest is, if you could take anything that you're doing right now and scale it up to have an increased impact, what would that be?
I would answer the question in two different ways, professionally and then personally. So professionally, the answer to who is going to do what and by when. For my organization, for NYOH, that would be transformative, to have crystal clear communication consistently, regardless of your role in the organization, to know, right? To know that answer, because so many of us function on, I don't know what's happening next. I think that would catapult NYOH to their next level of caring for patients. From a personal point of view, what would probably have the greatest impact on me is boundary setting. Right? Continuing to not let the work and personal boundaries bleed together, and really make sure that work sits as work as much as valuable. It makes me who I am, but it's my family and my friends that truly make me who I am.
I love that. So true.
Thank
Thank you for sharing that. That was really great answers. So you get the final question. Yeah. So what is that going to be for our next guest?
I would be so interested. It is that, regardless of age, I think that most of us can go back to a woman or a handful of women or nieces that we have in our lives, just women that we're surrounded by, and really take that moment and say, who's had the greatest impact on you? It doesn't have to be formal, but what do you remember a woman saying to you that you carried forward, whether that's personally or professionally, that was profoundly impacting?
That's a great question. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the time. I know that you and I could sit here and chat for hours on end. I wish we had the time. Sabrina, thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure to be in your company on the board, and wish you continued success.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thank
I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sabrina.